How we doing today? Hope we're doing well. Hope we're doing well. What's going on? So we got the new computer. We got it set up. Uh, Hopefully the stream goes a little bit better. It looks better and everything like that. Let me know if we're having audio issues or any sort of issues like that, because this is obviously the first stream with the new computer. So if the volume isn't loud enough or anything like that, just let me know. Um, Still trying to figure out some stuff with OBS and how to make it a little bit, I guess, more visually appealing, how to make it look better. But we'll get there. So, my name is Jaron Horton. For those who don't know, I have NFL experience, SEC experience. I was an FBS coordinator, professional coordinator. I was the 2023 USFL Assistant Coach of the Year with the Pittsburgh Maulers. We were the number one defense across just about every category. And so today we're going to be looking at palms, uh, what I call palms. It's trap two, if you will. It's kind of I think it's a little bit more like quarters, but it's a form of quarters and a form of trap two, depending on how you teach it and how you run it. So we're gonna do a quick little palms install, and then we're also gonna talk about exchange pressures or false pressures or however you want to call them, but where you're still rushing four defenders and you're playing coverage with seven. So you're usually going to send an off the ball linebacker, and it looks like a pressure, but on the back end you're still playing coverage with seven. Um, so we will start by looking at palms. All right, let me pull this up. And all right, we should be good. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, cool. So this is for us what we call tight will palms. Like we've talked about, tight is the front, will is putting the fourth rusher in the charge, and we're playing palms behind it. Um, you can do different things on the back side of it. We played quarters to two-man side. You could play cloud if you wanted to. Really, um, you can play palms to two in the core. How we have it set up is if two is out of the core, if two is outside, then we're going to play palms to that side, as you can see right here. And I think I can draw on this. What's good, J. Lou? Oh, and see, we got up here in the corner, we got the chat in the screen, so that's a little bonus. Yeah, learn and ask questions. Whatever questions you have, just shoot and we'll talk about it. Um, so when we are looking at palms for us, we're gonna do that to a detached two, and we already talked about that a little bit when we were installing cover six. In base, we check to palms because we don't necessarily want our Sam backer out there on a receiver. Um, we could play quarters, we could play palms. Palms, in my opinion, how we teach palms is very similar to quarters, like I said. Um, and in my brain, the difference between palms and quarters is who is the fitter. In palms, it's this guy. He's the guy that's fitting into the run, and really his alignment needs to be wider. But he is now fitting right here, outside of two. And if we're playing quarters, what we talked about a few streams ago, now the nickel would be lining up outside of two, and the safety would be in the fit faster. Um, so in my brain, at least in the run game, that's the only difference between palms and quarters is who's in the fit. And like I said, when we do base, this is our Sam backer who is I don't know, anywhere from 240 to 270, somewhere around that range. Typically, we would want him in the fit more than we would want our 180 to 210 pound safety. You'd want that guy in coverage and the bigger guy in the box in the run game. Not saying that you always have to, but in theory, that's what you would like to do. So when we're playing palms, right, and on a detached two, it's basically everyone needs the key two. My first question about quarters, I've heard so many ways to play it, and I don't know which is technically correct. I remember someone saying that in weak side of quarter defenses kind of ran like palms for the fits to be better for having an outside, for having backside linebacker actually in the box. So it depends on the backside of quarters. If you're gonna play it like palms, it just depends. You can do that. You can do either. It depends where two is, or I guess three. Like if it's the backside of a 2x2 set like this, over here, and you wanted to play palms, in theory, this guy, like you're just playing trap with two in the core. You're playing like more like cloud kind of, because now the corner would take that out and the safety would take this one. Whereas if you're playing it like quarters, then he would take this guy out and the corner would stay on one and the safety would get in the fit. So it just depends on how you're teaching it, I guess. But yes, you can definitely do that to where you're playing it more like palms. And really what you're saying is if two goes out to the flat, who is fitting in the run game? And if you're playing it like true quarters, then he would expand and he would fit if you're getting like a true run or RPO. But if you are playing it like palms, like we just said, then now this guy would be in the fit where he's closer to the box, obviously, and he would expand to be in the coverage. So you can do it either way, and it's not often, unless you're facing like a true RPO team, that you're getting two to the flat, and because typically it would be like in shotgun like this, and you'd be getting some sort of zone read. That's what you'd be getting typically. That would be like something that would be difficult. But at the same time, when that guy expands, now he becomes the edge of the defense. He's a quarterback player. He's a B gap. He's A to A. He's B gap. He's C. He's here in the A gap. So really, this guy, his fit is off of his coverage anyway. So like playing him like palms will get that guy in the box more. But you typically don't run into that problem, just based on concepts that you're gonna get. But I mean, you can, and like I said, if you want to play palms to the backside, you can. You definitely can, and I think it works a little bit better in college or in high school because the hashes are wider. So like this guy, this tight end is gonna be closer to this guy. So like if he goes to the flat and he runs inside, the corner is gonna be closer to that. Whereas like in the pro game where the hashes are basically everything's in the middle of the field, this can get a little bit airy in between these two guys. Or if you're facing like a FIB team in high school or college, or FSL, FIB, someone that does stuff into the boundary. Let me know if that kind of answered your question, or if you still have questions about that. But I think that's a good question. And it really just depends on, like, you can, like I said, you can play the backside of palms, the backside of quarters, any too high coverage. You can really piece it together. Like you can play cloud on the front side and quarters on the backside, or quarters on the front side and cloud on the backside. You can play palms. They're all kind of interchangeable, and you're really, in the run game at least, you're just changing who is the force defender. Who has the edge of the defense. If you're playing cloud, it's going to be the corner. If it's quarters, it's going to be the safety. If it's palms, it's going to be the overhang guy. So like they're all kind of in the same box. You're just changing who has what responsibility. In the pass game, it's different, and we'll talk about that. But the run game, the fits are the same, You're just changing who's fitting where. Um, so now, when we're talking palms in the pass game, that's a good segue. Is it's key two. Everyone's keying two. The corner's keying two. The safety's keying two, and really the overhang is his secondary key is two. First is the end man, and three, and then it's two. So what we're saying is now, when we're playing palms, how we teach it, and these distances and yards can be different. We have ours at 7. Sometimes you can do 5. You could do 10. I don't know if anyone does 10. I'm sure some people do. We do 7, just based on typical offensive routes. And maybe some weeks, if you're good enough, you could change it week to week. You could say, this week we're gonna do our line at 5. Next week we're gonna do it at 7. Maybe we're gonna do it at 10 based on what the offense runs. But what I'm saying is, you're going to key 2. And if 2 goes out anywhere before that yard marker, anywhere before, for us, 7 yards, then the corner is going to trap it. And that means the safety has to get to 1. Whatever route concept 1 is running, the safety is responsible for him. If 2 does not go out within 7 yards, if he goes in, if he goes vertical, if he runs a hitch, then the corner is going to lock 1, no matter what 1 does. If 2 isn't out right now, if 2 isn't out within 7 yards or 5 yards or 4 yards, whatever you teach it, then he is going to lock that. So for us, the nickel, it can depend. By rule, I think in the playbook it's written as apex. We didn't even tell him. It just depends. So like, we like to have that guy a little bit wider in the professional level, just because I want him to have some body presence on 2. But if in college, a lot of times you're going to have him more apex to stop the run, especially with the wider hashes. College and high school, when you have all that space to the field, you're probably going to want to have that guy more apexed. We have him basically be like slightly inside of 2 to maybe 3-4 yards inside of 2, depending on splits. But I would say in high school and college, yeah, you're going to want to apex that guy. And it all depends on splits. Everything is split dependent. If that guy's tighter, if number 2 is tighter to the core, then the nickel can be tighter. If 2 is wider, then the nickel's going to have to be wider. But by general rule of thumb, yeah, you can say apex. And it just kind of depends on what you want to do. If you know that if you are going to apex it and you're in high school or college and there is a lot of space, just know that that little quick hitch of 2, that's going to be a completion, and the safety is going to have to go and make the tackle, and the nickel's going to have to go and make the tackle. So like, you're going to give that up in theory, but you're not going to allow the run. And in like what we're saying is, they're not going to hit these hitches all day, because eventually you're going to call cover 3 and have this guy lined up out there to where they can't hit that, which is another big thing, is just varying your call and changing up your call and stuff like that. But yeah, by rule, you can apex him, you can put him wherever you want. I like him to move around a little bit. Sometimes line up head up, sometimes line up outside. Just know that his responsibility is, when the ball is snapped, if it's a run, I have to fit the C gap, and if it's a pass, I want to make sure 2 goes over the top of me. And what we mean by that is, I don't want to let 2 dive underneath of me on a slant. I want to make him go over the top, because the safety is responsible for 2. So a big concept that you'll see is like quarters beaters or palms beaters, split safety beaters, where this guy's going to dive underneath and then climb to where he dives underneath, and the safety sometimes will look away. He'll look over here to 1 because he thinks, oh, that nickel's got him. And then the nickel's going to drop him because he's not carrying verticals, and then this ball can be open. So a big key coaching point for the nickel in palms or the overhang, whoever that happens to be, is make this guy go over the top of you so that if he does go vertical, the safety doesn't look away. Because the safety, as long as that route is vertical, is going to be keyed in on two. If two goes under right now, he's going to look away, either looking at something coming back this way or whatever. But he can lose that guy real quick. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I want that back up. I don't know how I got that to go away. Here we go. So now we're talking about 1 and 2 in the pass game, palms over here. We said we're going to key 2, right? If 2 goes out within 7 yards, the corner's going to trigger and the safety's got to get to 1. So it plays kind of like 2, cover 2-ish. You want your overhang guy to be like a true zone and vision player. He shouldn't have to carry any verticals. He shouldn't have to expand with anything to the flat because he's going to take that. He can just zone off, basically, and try to stay underneath the slant window. And we'll get to film in a little bit and see what that looks like. Now, when we're getting 3-by-1 over here in palms, the nickel or the overhang guy, he has to be aware of 3. Because if 3 crosses his face, he's going to own that because we're keying 2. All right, we're keying 2. So when 3 goes to the flat, the palms player is going to take that. Just like in quarters, the short quarters player would take 3 across his face. So he would take that, and you get like 9-7-3 or something like that. The corner's going to take 1. The safety's going to take 2. He's going to push over here a little bit. But you should have it covered. And it'll look just like quarters. Just the nickel's going to be slightly inside. The big thing, not the big thing, I guess, but one thing that you're going to have to talk about is 3 open, which is this right here. And just depending on how you play it, it's going to play the same as how you would play it in quarters, most likely. Your quarters check to 3 detached is going to be the same check as your palms check to 3 detached, in theory. That's what we did, so that's all I can speak on. And here, we're playing palms on the inside too, is how I kind of teach that. Same rules as everything else. We're playing palms on these 2 guys with these 3 guys, I'm sorry. These three guys right here are playing palms off these 2 guys, and he's locked, as you can see. We called it fist. It don't really matter. You're playing palms on the inside too. All right, so that is basically palms and quarters. It's very similar how I teach it. I'm going to have my buddy Tate come on because he teaches palms a little differently. We're going to have him come on at some point in the future and talk about, because he says he teaches palms more like cover 2 and I teach palms more like quarters. So we're going to, at some point in the future, kind of go back and forth with what he does and what I do, because neither necessarily is right or wrong. It's just different. All right. So now we're going to talk a little bit about exchange pressures or false pressures or however you want to call it. But we're still playing palms. This is called tough bad palms because tough for us was a variation of tight. Nose is going backside. Bad was backer or dime, I think. Backer or dime in the A gap, something like that. I can't remember exactly. This was from 2022. But we wanted it to be away from the halfback. So the thing with these exchange pressures or the false pressures is you're still rushing 4. And the only thing that you're really changing is he's getting to his run fit right now. One of the backers is getting to their run fit right now. And now this guy who was our 4th rusher is now in coverage. So like if it's a run, it'll be hard to tell for the offense. It'll just look like the backer got a really good jump and just blitzed his run gap. And if it's a pass, initially it'll look like a blitz, but then you'll have that extra guy in coverage. You'll end up having only 4 in the rush. Now, these can be somewhat tricky to teach because now you have to teach more people, more like job responsibilities, you have to teach your whoever's dropping, you have to teach him the coverage rules. So like here he's playing short quarters, which we talked about the other days: match, carry, deliver. But now on the ball linebacker or a defensive end, however you're set up, he has to now know coverage responsibilities. And for us, they know that already because when we're in our 3-4 structure, those outside linebackers are playing these things anyway. But it is adjustments, and it is more teaching and stuff like that. So like the exchange pressures and false pressures and whatever, those can get tricky, and they can have a lot of adjustments. um, so we'll see this one specifically because I have some tape from Houston in 2022 that we'll pull up. And then the other one I wanted to talk about, because really you can do any exchange pressure and play whatever coverage behind it you want. So for us, this one is automatic, which is our cover three, and we're sending our backer. Um, it has a lot of moving pieces and a lot of adjustments. I don't even think we ever ran this in a game, just because the cover three, how we run it, has so many moving parts. Whereas the will can be the weak curl flat, he can be the weak hook curl. It just has a lot of moving parts. So we didn't, I don't think, end up running this, just based on like, and with motion, it gets really, really complicated. Um, so we just didn't end up running it. But you can, as long as it's schemed out, you can run your exchange pressures with any coverage behind it. You can run it with palms, you can run it with quarters, with um, really Tampa, with whatever. You could run it with man if you wanted to, fire or not fire zone, but any 7-man coverage, any true zone coverage, you can run these exchange pressures. Whatever pattern you want to do, whoever you can drop, whatever lineman you want to do. That's up to your imagination. But I am about to pull up the film real quick, so give me a second here. All right. Cool. All right, so now this is the one we looked at. This is tough bad palms. Um, so it's a false pressure. We're pressuring 4, but we're still playing palms. All right, so they give us a little bit of motion. Here we're playing. It ends up playing like box for us, to where now he should take the first one to the flat. They should kind of pass off the verticals, and I believe he should be in the pressure and he should be dropping off because we set it away from the back, if I remember correctly. Yeah, okay, so that's how it looks. But now for us, typically this guy's the fourth rusher and the other 7 are in coverage. Um, let's see how it works. So it looks like a blitz to them, and it gets a blitzing linebacker one on one with a running back. Is one thing that it can do well. Um, Bryce can slow down a little bit right here. I understand why, because he's got a receiver going full speed, but he can slow down just a little bit. They end up completing that. That's a good catch. But like we're saying, Bryce can slow down just a little bit there. But we do a good job up at the top of passing this off. We're playing this like cloud. No, they might have locked it. It looks like they locked it to where now he's taking one. He should really take this guy. It works out because he's still sitting out here, and he ends up playing off the back. So it ends up working out. But he probably should take that guy back a little bit unless these two guys communicated with the back and this guy. And Shaq right here, in a perfect world, he wouldn't look back this way. He would kind of feel this 7 cut and expand a little bit to make this ball have to go over the top in a perfect world. But we'll see the pressure right here. This must be the... Oh, this is the very first play of the game for us on defense. So we set it this way. So he's hitting the A gap. He's going here. He should be here to contain, and he should be here to contain. But the reason it's good is because we have our will standing right here. So typically they're thinking that it's going to go like that. So he's going to go block him, and he's going to go block him, and he's going to block him, he's going to block him, and he's going to block him is how they would normally do it. So like you'll see, I'm sure that this guy looks right here initially. So see how he jumped out there, and now we have one-on-one with these two. And we get pressure. I'd like him to have a little bit better of a plan of attack on that. But we get pressure on the quarterback. Could be a little bit better, though, for sure. All right, so here we're saying palm. So like he's creeping in. He's kind of apex right here. But like I said, with our hashes in the pro level, everything's really in the middle of the field. So like he's kind of creeping like he's blitzing, but even if he's inside shoulder of 2, he's still right next to the tackle. It's never that really that wide. Like typically you don't get number 2 right here and number 1 out here. You just don't. But there you can see the concepts. We get one-on-one in the back. We just get verticals or sticks, however you want to call it. This is pretty good job right here. We're playing it like quarters down here to where he can reroute that guy better. I'd like him to kind of get hands-on and reroute 10 to 12 to now where he can take it over. But, I mean, we're covered down pretty well. Up here we can be a little bit better. Keith needs to see that, okay, now that guy's vertical. Now I need to go get this one. I know they run double move, but he's responsible for that. And then we'll see the tight. Same thing. We're getting one-on-one with the running back. Like we said, it should be here to contain, here to contain, here to here, and here. And this guy is typically going to go out there because, oh no, he actually should go this way. He should go here, he should go here, and they should double the nose. I don't know why he went that way. Maybe they saw the nickel as pressure. I don't know why he goes this way. But we still get one-on-one with the back. Same thing, we'd like to have a better rush plan on the back to get pressure and get home. But they take a shot, obviously don't complete it. Give me 1 second here. All right, hold on. Give me like 2 seconds here. I need to hide my screen real quick. I'll be right back. Just make sure the baby goes to sleep. Apologies. Trying to stay on a schedule, but sometimes the baby doesn't want to go to sleep. All right. So we'll get back to this now. All right, we are same thing, calling tough bad palm, same pattern, all that. But here we're gonna get a run, and it works out great here, to where he like I said, he's just hitting his run gap basically. We don't end up making a tackle there, but we end up getting the guy on the ground eventually. This was a reason why I think he was all pro running back. But we need to make our tackle, obviously. If we make our tackle, we're getting a TFL. But this is why these exchange pressures can be really good in the run game, because he's just going to shoot his gap before anyone can get there. They can't block him. Technically, this guy's responsible for him looping all the way around, because they probably think he's going to go over the top. 99, no, he shouldn't spill it. He should force it back to really him, and him coming over the top. I'm not sure why he did. Oh, you know why? I know why he did. We're playing cloud over this side. Yeah, he can spill it because we're playing cloud or lock, some form of cover too. We probably locked it, but now he can spill it and he'll go over the top basically, and he'll play 0. That's why he's doing that. And it, like I said, if he makes if Dale makes a tackle, it's a 3-yard loss, and then if Bryce makes a tackle, it's a 3 or 4-yard loss. But yeah, how we were playing it on the backside, that's why he spilled it. If we were playing it like quarters, then he would force it back inside. All right, our coverage is poor here, but we're looking more at the rush. We're getting same thing, 1-on-1 with a running back. We're playing it up top again like box. So he's got the first one to the flat. He's got the outside vertical, inside vertical, and then the inside breaking route. He's in the pressure, and now he's our backside short quarters player. So what I would like is, instead of him expanding, is him to just drop straight back and be really right around here. And this would be a catch, and probably wouldn't have caught it because he double clutched it. It would be him standing right here and him making the play. This was the first game of the year though, so we had only had like 3 weeks of preparation before this, so we had some busts and stuff like that, which is to be kind of understood. But you can see we're getting QB pressure because we're doing this exchange pressure. Like we said, he should, in theory, kick set for this guy, because he's the guy that they're going to count in the rush. He's going to go over here for this guy, which leaves him basically open. And like, think of this, if you're a 4-down front guy, it's basically he's right here and he's right here and he's the 4th rusher. That's like how the offense sees it. To now he's going to go block him, he's going to block him. Typically they're both going to block the nose and he's going to block him, or they'll allow this guard to block this guy and he'll kick back over here. I don't know, however they want to do it. But you can see he sees him, but he doesn't know if he's blitzing, so he's going to have to step up and block that guy. But that's a reason why it's nice to call these exchange pressures, because it'll mess with their protection and you get pressure on the quarterback. Here, obviously, we don't affect them enough to not allow him to complete the pass, but we're getting pressure, we're getting QB hits that end up accumulating throughout the game. All right, I don't have a whole bunch of clips of these exchange pressures just because we didn't do a whole bunch, but we have a few. All right, we're playing. This should be dime palm, so in theory, I think he should be pressuring. We're playing palms over here. You can see he ends up walking inside. I'd like Tarp to start a little bit deeper because they know that he's either in the pressure or he's playing palms based on his alignment. We need him to key this guy, so really he should drive this, and now he should take that route. We're playing it basically just like zero out here right now for whatever reason. But this is another thing. We need to make the tackle in the backfield. If we're getting free hitters to the backfield, we're just not making the play, which is kind of why we stopped running these. And by rule, he needs to get to one of these two A gaps. He's in one of these two gaps. He's a B gap player. He is going to be here now, and then the nickel is playing off the edge. And that's kind of why what you're talking about earlier about apexing this guy is he's now having a hard play to make because this gets washed. So he has to be able to be close enough here to make this play. And obviously here, it ends up being for a few more yards than we would like. And that's what you're saying based on his pre-snap alignment of not being apex. If he was right here, he'd be closer to it and it'd be an easier tackle for him to make. We'd like Tez to make the tackle though right there too. All right, this is, I called tight wheel palms, which would set him in the charge, but they ended up playing dime where he pressures. And it can be good against pullers because you can knock the pullers off and create penetration in the backfield. So really he needs to move this way. But like I said, this was the first game of the year and we didn't have much time to prepare, so we had a lot of busts and whatnot. But you can see we're getting pressure, knocking off pullers, creating an edge right here to where now he cuts back into this gap. And we end up making the play in the backfield. But that's something that these exchange pressures and exchange coverages can be good at is creating edges and knocking off pullers. Is good for outside run teams, pin pull, even gap scheme teams that are trying to pull someone, because you can either shoot a guy in that gap behind the puller and he'll make the play in the backfield, or you're getting a guy on the front side of a puller and they can't block that guy and you're creating a edge of the defense. So like these exchange pressures can be really nice. We tried to run some in 22, but we didn't run them in 23 just because we didn't have enough time to get all of the checks down and really have enough reps at it. Because like stuff like this you need reps at. You need to see a whole bunch of different looks and formations on how it's going to affect you. So like for us with no off-season program and just going from 3 to 4 weeks of camp to the first game, it's tough to run all these different exchange pressures. They're really nice. They're definitely nice. And they have merit. But I think they take a little bit more practice and time to really get good at. So that's why I don't have a whole bunch of film on it, just because we didn't run a whole bunch. But are there any other questions? I know today's a shorter stream. But do we have any other questions about anything of palms? And if I can pull up a little bit more tape of palms, probably. I don't know what it's gonna be, but we can see a little bit more palms. I don't really have any more of these exchange pressures just because we didn't call a whole bunch. Um, but that's, I mean, like I said, we're gonna do a little bit more in depth in the future on palms when Tate comes on, and we talk a little bit more about that, of the differences between how he teaches palms and how I teach palms. Um, and he says he runs it a lot and it works really well for him. Um, and it's a little bit different than how we do it. So there are a lot of different ways that you can run palms, whether you want to be more cover two focused or more cover four focused. We're more cover four focused. He runs it a little bit more cover two style. Um, but we'll get more into that when we do that stream. I'm not sure when that'll be, when he'll have time to hop on. We might have to make a special stream on the weekend or at a different time of the day or something like that. Um, but that's kind of a basic understanding of palms, and like we said, these exchange, these quasi pressures, these false pressures, they can play any covers behind them. Cover three, cover four, cover six, cover two, man with a whole player. Any way you want to do it, you can run these exchange pressures. And I think the best way, like, these exchange pressures can be good, and I think it's good to install them, like to have one that's weak, have one that's strong, or like one that's to the tight end, one away from the tight end, to the passing strength, away from the passing strength, to the field, to the boundary. However you like do stuff like that, it's good to have one of both, to where if you're facing a team that's heavy boundary side run, okay, we can call more of these boundary side false pressures to send that guy into his run gap right now and just kind of knock off pullers and create an edge of the defense, to force that guy to cut back. Or you can do it where you're going to do it to the field, do it to the running back, just based on the offense. I think these can be better game plan oriented things, to where we're really looking at what does the offense do and where do we want to send this guy. Do we want to send him away from the back because they do outside runs out of shotgun? Do we want to send him to the back end shotgun because they do a lot of same side stuff? That can just be game plan things. And if you're really good, you can do it formationally. If you have a certain tell when they go trips Y off, you can send it to the tight end or away from the tight end, and every other time do it however. Those are things that you can evolve to, and depending on how much time of practice and how long your guys have been in the defense, you can do. But I do think that these exchange pressures are really good game plan specific calls, which is why that first one we looked at against Houston, that was a game plan specific one. I think it was always away from the back for whatever reason. I can't remember what the specific reason was, but that's why we did it. It was always away from the back. But like I said, today was a shorter stream. I think the next stream on Tuesday, we're going to look at Philly 1, the first Philly game from 2023. And what we're going to talk about in that game is more of like a weekly whatever, like, schedule, where we're going to talk about breaking them down from previous weeks to getting an idea of what plays they're calling, why they're calling them, what do we want to do on defense, to stop what they're doing, and then just kind of in the game, like, we're going to call this on this down and distance because X, Y, and Z. So I'll pull up my notes and breakdowns and stuff like that, so we can look at that, and you guys can get an idea of how I break stuff down and like my process of doing stuff like that is. So that should be a fun stream, and then we'll just watch the game kind of play by play in theory. So that one should be a fun stream. But like I said, we're gonna probably call this stream right now, and I'll see what I can do to make the stream look a little bit better and kind of present a little bit better, because this new computer can handle more stuff. But the next stream should be on Tuesday, I hope. But until then, I appreciate you guys for showing up. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.